Once upon a time, in a quiet little corner of Buffalo, New York, there lived a man named Henry. Henry worked as a toll collector on a lonely highway, watching cars pass by all day long. He lived a life so ordinary that it seemed like he'd forgotten how to dream. Every day felt the same for Henry, like he was stuck in a never-ending nap. His wife, Debbie, grew tired of his sleepy, aimless ways. But one morning, something unexpected happened. Henry's old friend, Eddie, showed up with a grin as big as the sky and said, "Come on, Henry, let's play some baseball." Henry wasn't much for games, but he thought, why not? He grabbed his car keys and off they went. As they drove through town, Eddie said, "Mind stopping at the ATM? I need some cash." Henry, being a kind and trusting man, agreed. But as they pulled up to the Buffalo Savings Bank, Eddie revealed his true plan. He wasn't there for the ATM. Eddie and two other passengers leapt out of the car and robbed the bank. Poor Henry had no idea what was happening. Before he could even blink, the police arrived, and Henry was arrested for being part of the heist. In court, Henry had a choice. He could give up the names of the robbers and go free, or stay silent and take the blame. Henry, being loyal to a fault, chose silence. Off to jail he went, though his heart felt heavier than the prison doors that closed behind him. Now, in this strange new world, Henry met someone who would change his life forever. His cellmate was a man named Max, a clever, charming conman who could talk his way out of almost anything, though he usually didn't want to. Max had been in prison for so long that he called it his home sweet home. But Max had a gift. He could spark dreams in the hearts of even the most hopeless souls. "Henry," Max said one day, "you're like a man standing in the middle of a blank page. You've got nothing written down yet. But listen to me, kid, if you want to find your purpose, you've got to start by dreaming." That night, Henry lay in his cell and thought about Max's words. He dreamed of doing something big, something bold, something that would give his life meaning. But before he could act, his world changed again. Debbie, unhappy with Henry's choices, divorced him and married Joe, one of the men who had been part of Eddie's scheme. 18 months later, Henry stepped out of the prison gates a free man. The world felt different now, sharper and brighter, like it was calling him to wake up at last. And then it hit him. If he'd already done the time, why not do the crime? Henry remembered the Buffalo Savings Bank, the very place where his troubles began. But he also remembered an old story about a secret tunnel, one built by bootleggers long ago, that ran from the bank to a dusty theater across the alley. It was then that Henry's dream began to take shape. He went straight to Max and said, "It's time to leave your home sweet home, Max. I need your help." Max, intrigued by the idea of adventure, filed for his long-overdue parole, and the two unlikely partners set their plan in motion. The theater where the tunnel led was putting on a play, The Cherry Orchard, a tale of change and second chances. To keep their secret plan hidden, Henry became an actor in the play, and Max volunteered to help with the stage crew. It was in that old, creaky theater that Henry met Julie, the leading lady. She was fiery, funny, and full of life, and before long, Henry found himself falling for her. For the first time in years, he felt truly alive. But the tunnel needed clearing, and for that, they needed help. Against his better judgment, Henry turned to Joe, yes, the very same Joe who had married Debbie. Joe agreed to help but let Eddie in on the plan. Eddie, ever the schemer, insisted on joining them. The night of the heist arrived. The four of them worked together, sneaking through the tunnel and into the bank. But as they reached the vault, Eddie's greed got the better of him. He tried to take all the money for himself, but Max, clever as ever, outwitted him. Eddie was left behind in the vault as Henry, Max, and Joe made their escape. As they drove away, Henry looked out at the night sky, the stars shining like tiny dreams waiting to be plucked. He told Joe to stop the car. "I've found my purpose," Henry said. "It's not money, and it's not running away. It's about waking up and living life, no matter how messy it gets." He wished Max well and walked back to the theater where Julie was waiting. And from that day on, Henry was no longer a man without dreams. He was a man who had learned that sometimes the greatest treasures aren't buried in vaults, they're found in the hearts of those who dare to dream big.